In 128 million households across America, everyone is asking the same things. What if I get sick? How do I get better? How is everyone else coping? What lies ahead? Tell Me Everything, a place where all of your questions can finally get some answers.
So we're here today talking to parents, to children about their lives in the age of the pandemic, calling it Parent-Demic. And boy, do they have other names for it. But Charlie, have you ever seen anything like this?
I'm concerned about how the young children are doing with this, because what do they think about all of this?
Well, from the few I've heard from, they were scared in the beginning. And mostly it's because they couldn't socialize, be with their friends, go to school. Now I think they think it's a little bit of a game. They got a little bit of a handle on it. But psychologically, we have a great guest, a child psychologist today, who's really going to give us the 411. They're going to tell us everything about how it's really affecting them. I mean, this is a bigger question mark show to me than information, believe me.
I think you're exactly right, because I think we're going to see the effects of these things on the young children. These 4, 5, 6-year-old kids that are walking around with masks as if it's supposed to be part of their life.
So these kids see all this. They can't hug their grandparents. They can't socialize. And who are they becoming inside themselves? I mean, this is really heavily on the parent. What kind of parent can you be now? And some parents lost their business, lost their resources, and the stress is just all too much.
Yeah, I think that this show will be very interesting from the standpoint of what has happened to the family life.
You got to stay tuned for this Parent-Demic episode, because if we didn't say what's already being said in your house, let us know. So away we go with the show, Charlie.
Tell us everything.
It's Parent-Demic time, and what parent isn't going through their own epidemic of being everything? Truth be told, I'm with my niece today because I feel she could be very honest with me, as most women are, to tell me, how the hell has it been being with 4 children and everything else? Marilyn, tell me everything.
I have to take a deep breath first. This too shall pass. And that was really my mantra probably throughout everything, throughout this entire experience. I kept saying, this will pass. Eventually there will be an end in sight. And the main goal was just to keep everyone healthy, safe, and to somehow throw some fun into the mix of the chaos, and just to normalize the entire situation for my family as best as we possibly could.
Wait, normalize?
Normalize.
Like what? How does that look?
We were in such a world of chaos and fear, and there were so many questions that I didn't have the answers for, and I just had to try to make some kind of sense of normalcy just so my kids could feel safe. What that looked like in my house was trying to keep a little bit of a routine.
You're a teacher, yes, and you're a mother, and you're a wife, and you have a beautiful home. What ball, pulled you the most? Because it's ball and chain after a while, I know that. But there had to be, what were you teaching? Just how to navigate the pandemic, or were you teaching, here's math, here's social studies, here's art?
We were staying to the curriculum. We were actually teaching. We changed maybe some of our teachings, the curriculum, in terms of what text we were reading. We tried to find text that was inspirational, with the message of, we could get through anything, and to keep this theme. And again, I was teaching young girls who are going to be the women of the future. So it was just recurring that theme of we could get through anything together. We have the strength internally to get through whatever we need to get through. And we continued with the curriculum. We had finals.
What was it like 24/7 co-parenting? Did your styles, were they always on, they were never on board 24/7. I mean, but how was that? Did it get closer or further apart?
So fun. The first 2 weeks, you're like, oh, okay, we're going to be in quarantine for 4 weeks. We got this. The first 2 weeks were so fun. I don't know, I was in a delusionment, and I was just making breakfast, lunch, dinner, and it was so fun, and I felt like the ultimate mother, wife, host. And once I realized it was kind of a long-term event, I said, guys, I'm done. I'm not making breakfast. I'm not making lunch. We're going to have to figure it out. Cereal and milk, that's breakfast now, Lunch, I'm not cutting salad. I have girls that are big. I'm not cutting salads for you every day for lunch.
You tell me something, that something's got to give. You got to say this to people, because I'm sure there's a million women hopefully watching this that want to hear it.
When I was in high school and college and graduate school, I was really fed the line that women could have it all. And I really believed it, truly. Truly, I
Who
believed
fed you
it.
that? I want to not go to that restaurant.
I know.
I don't believe it.
I feel as though it was a society in general at large that just made the women say, hey, you could do anything boys can do, you could do it better. And I agree with that wholeheartedly, but you can't have it all. It's something I learned the hard way. I think when I was in school, when I was in graduate school, and I did a dual curriculum, I was pregnant in graduate school, throwing up, and I loved every moment. I was like, okay, I could do this. My first 2 kids, I was working, I had a house, and I loved every minute, and I was juggling, and everything was okay. And for me, I like working, but I equally like making parties, hosting, getting my kids dressed up. There's a lot of different sides to most women, including myself. And in the beginning, I was able to manage it all, And then I guess when I had my 3rd kid, my Daniela, my little firecracker, when I had my 3rd kid, and
The
I
water
had to
really
go,
broke, yeah.
and I had to go back to work. I was teaching in Flatbush at the time, and I had to go back to work 6 weeks after I gave birth to her. And I was just looking back and reflecting at the irony of my life. Here I am, an educator, taking care of 30 other children that aren't mine. And in order to take care of 30 children, I had to leave my child behind. And
Wow.
and it didn't sit well with me. I think it was a catalyst for the beginning of almost the end, I would say, where that dream was shattered. And I realized, hey, I can't have it all. I can't be an incredible mother if I'm not there for my child when she's 6 weeks old. And then how am I going to be the best educator if my mind is focusing on the well-being of my baby that I'm leaving behind? And then how could I be an amazing wife if I'm working all day and then coming home to 3 children and somehow making dinner, and then by the end of the night, I'm exhausted.
This is the litany of women now. But what were you most fearful of in the house?
In the beginning, it was the virus itself.
Yes.
I was really, really afraid, honestly. Hearing those stories, anytime anybody sneezed in my house, I was taking temperatures. I'm a little bit neurotic like that. So that came out, my anxiety came out. And then after that, it was, once we realized this was life, how do we enjoy and make memories in this life? This is our new life. How do we make this new life a great one?
What would you tell women now, your age, with children, school? How do you go back to school? What are you going to do? That's the parent-demic right in your face right now.
Right. So I guess really the first thing to say is just be honest. We don't have all the answers. That's okay. We don't have to have all the answers. We don't have to be perfect. It's not what you're seeing on Instagram isn't real. It's not real. Be real. And that means be forgiving. You're not going to be perfect all the time. You can't have it all. You can't do it all. Prioritize, figure out what's the most important. I know that in the first few weeks I had kids, my first grade, that's important. And she couldn't get to every Zoom class, and I didn't feel guilt about it because that wasn't my priority in those first 2 weeks. My priority was keeping my family happy and keeping my family healthy. And that didn't necessarily mean keeping my kids on Zoom if they didn't feel like it in the first week or 2. They needed a time to transition. I needed time to transition. So I was very forgiving of what other expectations were that were bestowed upon us, oh, your kid has to be in Zoom, your kid has to do this, your kid has to do this. I decided what was best for my own family, and I didn't feel guilt about it.
That's terrific. Now, what do you do for you to make you better?
That's my hard part, I want to say. I'm feeling burnt out now. In the beginning, it was okay, and we were managing.
The game is over.
It's August. It's August. My husband's like, "Oh, what happens if there's no school?" I said, "I don't know. I have my knapsacks ready. I'm dropping my kids. They're going. They're going." I said, "Honey, maybe you should follow me in your car because I'm dropping the kids off. I love them, but bye-bye."
Well, I've always admired you. And I have to say that there's going to be women everywhere trying to find your number and say, could I talk to you? Thank you for telling me everything. Now, out of the mouths of babes, I'm going to ask the kids what they really felt about this time.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rena,
Hi.
I want to talk to you because you always have something to say, and it's so beautiful to me always, about what's going on. So, my show is called Tell Me Everything. And I want you to tell me everything you can about what it was like for you during Corona.
For me during Corona, it was really hard in the beginning because I couldn't see my friends at all for the first 4 weeks of the pandemic. And it was hard to learn because it's not so easy to learn everything on a device because it was glitchy and it was like shutting me out and then it was taking me out of the meeting. It was like really complicated. And then after we were allowed to get out of our houses again, it was okay, but we couldn't be close with our friends. And it was really hard to communicate with them because you couldn't hear anything they were saying.
So a lot of families made up like things to do. Did your family keep a diary or do anything together?
Yeah, so our family made a diary every day. Each member of the family, like my brothers, sisters, and parents, we each wrote down one page about our day and how, like, when we think Corona is going to end, and we're still doing it.
So what was the hardest part about being quarantined?
So the hardest part for me was that I wasn't prepared. Like, I was very unorganized. I did all my virtual homework last minute. I had a lot of time on my hands, but I didn't use it the right way.
So if you could tell others, what did you learn about your family being with them all the time?
I learned that if you take a break of your friends, like if you take a break of school and all of that, take a break of seeing all people, you could actually get closer with your family very easily.
Well, you are some wise young girl that I always knew, but never this one. I think you grew up a lot during this, and it's so beautiful to see. You are beautiful. Thank you for being on the show, and you told me everything. So I'm here with Elise, and this is nepotism all the way. These are my grandnieces. But do they have things to say? Because they tell me all the time. So Elise, tell me everything about the quarantine time. How did you feel? What did you do?
I felt like bored, and I felt like kind of like lonely because I couldn't really do anything with my parents. They were always busy doing stuff, and my siblings were always just doing, I don't know. So I always like tried to make fun stuff up.
Were you frightened of this virus, or were you just inconvenienced?
I was in the beginning, because in the beginning I had it. Like right when it started, I had it. And then like 2 days later, Grandma Beth, she was sick, so she got tested and she had to be quarantined for 2 weeks. So I was scared at that time.
Now, what would you tell another child now about that going in their house that maybe can't go out, or one of their parents have it, or they just don't have the opportunity?
I would say to try to make the best of it and like play with your family and make up games and play sports like in your backyard.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I either want to be an artist or a baker.
I can't wait. I'll buy both. I love you. So, what's your name?
Beth.
How old are you?
8.
8. How did you feel during the Corona time when everybody had to be quarantined?
I felt like this would stay like this forever, and I wouldn't get to see any of my friends anymore.
I heard you did something on the wall. What did you do?
Yeah, me and my family, we love doing art, so we made a wall of Corona. We hang up all our pictures on that wall.
What was your favorite part about being home every day with your family?
We had a lot of fun games. Me and my sister, our birthdays were in Corona, so my mom and dad, they did escape rooms for us.
Now, if there's other children listening your age, what do you want to tell them to help them?
If you think bad people made Corona, it's not because people don't want you to have fun. It's just a virus, and if you're home, you could have a lot of fun things. There's a lot of things to do. You could color, you could paint, you can invite your friends and play outside.
Okay, that's great advice. I think that everybody should listen to you, Beth. Thank you. So it's Parent-Demic time, and I'm talking to Cammie, who's I'm going to make tell me everything. I am seeing she really doesn't want to, but I think you have to. Tell me everything about you first.
Okay. So, my name is Cammie. I am 19 years old. I go to FIT. I'm going into my junior year. I have 2 younger sisters. We were all home together. I was supposed to study abroad this summer in Italy.
Oh, that's a big bummer. I feel for you.
But, with everything. I also had like a photo shoot that I was supposed to go to in Paris that got canceled.
Whoa.
And one of my best friend's sister's wedding was in Colombia, which also got canceled. So I had a lot planned for this year, but...
So it was more about your life being interrupted. Were you nervous, like, to bring it home to your parents or your grandparents, or all the things that the warnings were about?
So my parents are, like, young, so I didn't feel so scared to, like, give it to them. But even though, like, it's a little scary. But I was quarantined for 3 months. Like, we didn't leave the house for 3 months.
So what do you do at 19 for 3 months in the house? Truly, I really want to know.
Stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning and then
Netflix?
Just TikTok, like nothing.
TikTok.
Yeah. And you go to school in your bed. It sucks.
Do you ever get dressed?
No.
Put on makeup?
No.
You go on a diet then? You just eat what you want? What happens?
Hey. In the beginning of quarantine, I didn't really have like a good eating schedule or like sleeping schedule or anything. And like I did not change. I would wear my pajamas till I showered again and then just like wear my...
So it's like almost like a depression almost, that it sounds like. So I have the $1 million question that everybody your age that's watching, and I hope you are, how do you date? How do you meet someone? How do you kiss someone? How does any of that happen? And this is the age where it happens.
Well, I had a boyfriend in quarantine, but he broke up with me in the middle of quarantine because the relationship was too stressful for him. I don't know. That was his excuse.
Is he with somebody else now?
Yeah.
Oh, we have to call him out. No, this is not okay. We're going to do another one on etiquette of breaking up during, I never even thought of that. I know people have gotten together during the quarantine, but I didn't hear about the breakups.
Yeah.
So were you devastated?
We weren't dating for that long, so it was like not crazy, but it sucked.
So I have a good clue for you, being much older than you. Look for other things that are opening in case doors are closing, because they will. I promise they will. Cammie, thanks for telling me everything.
Thank you.
So, tell me everything, pandemic. Now, I have the perfect guest in front of me. Melissa, I'm going to let you tell me everything about parents, children, and how you see the world, especially during the lens of the COVID.
So I'm a therapist, and as a therapist, my philosophy is a healthy mind is just as important as a healthy body, right? So I like to think of myself as partnering with my clients in looking at their life's history and identifying the obstacles that interfere with flow.
Are your clients young, old, varied, or?
They're varied, so I do work with children, adolescents, and adults.
God bless you.
And my goal for all of them, Pamela, is to provide a safe and supportive space for them to address healing in the emotional, physical, and spiritual bodies.
So having said that, what a foundation during the time of COVID where there was no safe, supportive, or emotional for anybody that we could rely on. How did you navigate that? What did it look like from your chair with children, parents, anybody?
Parents and families and children are under an enormous amount of stress, and they're struggling in so many different ways. There's ongoing financial strain, obviously. There's loss of job. There's disruption in their work schedule, disruption in the school schedule, and the social networks have just been, completely deconstructed. So I am seeing all over the board struggle for families and children in all these areas. COVID-19 pandemic is a mass trauma. And from
Talk about that, a mass trauma.
Sure. Well, what we know about mass traumas are that there are strong correlations with mental health issues, including increase in anxiety, increase in depression, increase in substance abuse.
Is it immediate, or does it gradually seep in from after the trauma?
It depends on the type of trauma. Right. I think that the specifics that are unique to the COVID-19 pandemic as a mass trauma are the globality of it and the chronicity of it. We don't know how long it's going to last for. And we also don't know what the long-term effects are going to be on our mental health.
When would I see them? What would I see? What would be the beginning symptoms of trauma?
So I definitely look for any changes in things like sleep or appetite or mood. With a lot of the younger kids, I would say, the younger kids are protected in a sense, yes. 3 and under. But 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, in that demographic, I am seeing a large increase in anxiety. And
how does that exhibit?
That's coming out in, nightmares, a lot of nightmares, a lot of sleep issues.
Are they hesitant to talk with you, or they want to talk with you? They need the relief, right?
I'm surprised that they really do want to talk about it and engage with me, because I had to pretty much, transition over to teletherapy, which right. is difficult to do with children. I just had an 8-year-old yesterday who, because of the storm, their power was out. So the mom actually called me and said, we don't have video. And I said, well, he probably won't want to talk to me on the phone for 45 minutes, but he did.
Is there a correlation? Do the parents have the anxiety or exhibit the anxiety, not even first from this, maybe just have anxiety, and the kid takes it on now because they've all been quarantined?
Parents especially, they're coping with everything for themselves as well as needing to support the kids and the family as a unit. So they're really, their hands are full. And it is important, I talk to them about modeling, like make the room for self-care.
And what about the kids wanting to take care of the parents because of the fear of watching their parent lose it?
The 8 to 12-year-olds, they're very worried about their grandparents' health. The parents have done a great job, I think, of letting them know that they're at much less risk of contacting the virus, and they're at much less risk of getting sick. But they're really worried about their grandparents.
What resources do you give children now to look at this and say, this is not your fault, the virus is not your fault, what's happening is not your fault?
The multiple losses that we're experiencing is very it's very similar to what we would experience if we lost a person. I mean, that's the number one sort of tool that I make sure parents know, is to talk about it. So talking about your feelings, about everyone's feelings in the family about it, and being able to hold the emotions and the feelings for each other in the family unit, because really that's what you got right now to work with.
So I want to leave this conversation, never, because it could be endless, but I want to leave it with some positive tips to mothers who can't get to you, who can't get to a psychologist or help the way they need it or see they need it, or even not even knowing what to do.
I would say for the kids to maintain as much scheduling and routine as possible. Kids, especially the younger kids, they thrive off of predictability and consistency, right? So any little daily routines and nightly routines too, bedtime routines are great, that you can maintain would be one of the number one suggestions I could make. I love the idea of going around the dinner table, much like you and your girlfriends did, and just having each member of the family say one thing that they are grateful for during the day. So definitely maintaining routines and schedules would be really important suggestion that I could make. Again, I go back to talk about it, making sure that, you know, kids can come to their parents if they're feeling anxious or sad or fearful or afraid, or, you know, and to have it be an open conversation between parents and children and their families.
Well, you're a great light worker.
I want to say one more thing
Sure.
of optimism for us, Pamela, before we end, is that most people are psychologically resilient.
Yes,
you know, most people are going to get through this, and we might even, as cliche as it sounds, get through it with some stronger pieces of ourselves, some stronger pieces of appreciation
Oh, God,
and
hope
gratitude.
so, right?
Yeah.
I mean,